Try to show a little bit less of your interest. Try to have girls work a little bit more for your approval. If she's finding more interest in your friends than you, she's not a prospect they would spend much time on. Does that make sense? It's easy to mistake a girl talking to you because you provide entertainment and validation for a girl being interested in you. That's when you will start sexualizing your interactions, that you will see what she really thinks. Because when you force her to make a decision, that's when you really see how she feels. It can help to keep a mental count of how many times you were nice to her and showing her interest, and how many times she was nice to you and showing you interest. It should be balanced. So for example, if you start the conversation and you tell her, hey, you're so sexy, you're not allowed to wear that, blah, 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 blah. You show her one huge sign of interest. Is she showing you a sign of interest back? Now, there are many signs of interest, and we will happen to talk about that in the future. But for example, the fact that she replies to you with a big smile on her face and starts asking you questions to get to know you, that's a sign of interest. So by that point, you are allowed to give her another sign of interest and to see how she reacts. I'm not telling you that every single sentence that you're going to give out to women has to be a sign of interest, but overall it should be balanced. If she asks you about your other friend, showing interest towards this other person while you are next to her, that's her dismissing you. Basically, when you're in an interaction with a girl, you want to look at where her attention is. What is she focusing on? If you're talking to a girl and you're obviously making the interaction flirtatious and she tells you about anything but you, she does anything but flirt back with you, it's usually safe to assume that she's either dismissive or not interested in you. Look at where her focus is, first thing. And if you see that she's giving you mixed signals, do things that are a little bit more risky and intimate to see how she reacts. So you will see it very quickly. For example, you go up to a bar, you start a conversation with a girl, you tell her you find her very pretty. For example, she has a very sexy tattoo on her back and you tell her that, and she's very happy. Of course, she's going to be happy because a guy comes in and he's giving her strong positive emotions. And so she's going to start the conversation with you. She's going to be happy. But if right after you start being physically intimate, and she does not reciprocate, well, guess what? It means that she was not that interested in you. So you want to unmix those signals. For example, when I say mixed signals, sometimes she gives you positives, sometimes she's a little bit dismissive. And for example, she will tell you that she prefers your friend. It might be a joke. She might actually mean it. And so to figure out, we have to unmix those signals. And the best way to unmix those signals, do something that she wouldn't do with a guy she's not sexually attracted to. We don't want to waste time on girls who are not interested in you. So being able to recognize those girls who give you mixed signals and being able to unmix those signals as quickly as possible is a skill that is very useful for you to develop. If you really want to figure out whether or not she is romantically / sexually interested in you, you have to do moves that are more intimate. So touching her hand is okay, but it's okay within the first 3 minutes, like 2-3 minutes. And when you get good at this, it's okay for the first 10 seconds, and then you can notice the signs of interest and immediately escalate right after. But if you pull her from her lower back, how does she react? A girl is going to know very quickly whether or not she's attracted to you. And there are ways to make sure that most girls you meet are attracted to you very quickly. But the point is that it happens very quickly. Your focus should be on having fun around women that you like. And if you notice signs of interest, you escalate the intimacy of the interaction. It's very important to always be fun, because if you're not fun and interesting, nobody will want to be around you. But also don't forget to do it around women who are interested in flirting with you. When you meet a girl, you want to make her gradually more and more comfortable with your touch and more comfortable with the intimacy of the interaction. So when I said, for example, to pull her from her lower back, that's just an example. It's something that's usually more intimate than what friends would do. But there are other ways to do that. For example, talking about sex and asking her what she would like you to do to her. That's very intimate, very aggressive. Most girls you meet in a bar, you will not have this kind of conversation with them, but it might. Other things that are a little bit more tame would be, for example, to ask her to hold your drink or to take her hand and to make her spin. But things that are a little bit more tame like that are not going to really unmix the mixed signals. Sometimes it may. Like if a girl really doesn't care about you and she's just like spending time with you because she's bored, you ask her to spin her hand, she's not gonna do it, and that's gonna be enough to figure out. But some other girls, let's say, really like male attention, and they will waste your time a little bit. So you have to gradually escalate the intimacy of what you do. If you want a roadmap of least to most intense, for example, don't do the exact same things, but just to give you an idea. Least intense, you have the hands, shoulders, then the forearm, then the upper arm, then you have the upper back, then the lower back, then the belly, then the legs, then the neck. If she's comfortable with you touching her neck, most of the time she's comfortable enough for you to kiss her. At the beginning, for example, you could grab her hand, then you grab her hand and you make her spin. Then you start touching her hair. Then you pull her from her lower back. Then you tell her to smell your neck, and like you physically bring her head to your neck. Every move is a little bit more intimate and intense than the previous one. The goal is not to go from 0 to 100, because if you go to a 0 to 100, even if she's interested, she's gonna pull back. But if you go, for example, from 0 to 10, then from 10 to 20, then from 20 to 30. Girls who are not interested, they are going to drop the more you increase the intensity of what you do. It can be asking a girl to show you her back tattoo and to then touching it, and you see how she reacts to the fact that you touch her. It can be, for example, to while you're touching her back tattoo, you keep bringing your hand up on her back and you end up pulling her hair gently to see how she reacts. If she pulls away, she doesn't really like it. If she starts moaning, that's a huge green flag. You get my point. This is something that you improvise based on the situation, but generally speaking, it's not very hard to understand that making a girl spin is less intimate than asking a girl to show you the tattoo that she has on her calves, for example. From the least vital points in the body to the most vulnerable points in the body. Because when someone lets you touch them in the vulnerable points, the most vulnerable points in their bodies, it means they really want you and they really trust you and that they are intimate with you. So to recap that a little bit, if you're with a girl and you're not sure where the interaction is going, try to be a little bit more risky and intimate with her and see how she reacts. If she reacts positively, that's great. Keep escalating the intimacy of the interaction. If she pulls back, either you went too fast or she was not interested. So this is something that you will calibrate better with experience. If you escalate the intimacy of what you do too quick, she might pull back, but still like you, she just needs a little bit more time. When you escalate too quickly, what you have to do is that you take a step back, you do something a tiny bit less intimate, a tiny bit less intense, and you see how she reacts to that. If you have a 30-minute interaction and the only thing she reacts positively to is you touching her hand and making her spin, it's likely that she just wants to have fun, but she does not want to flirt.